Hello Dino Bros, Allosaur Bro here. Welcome to the newest YouTube video. With Monster Hunter Wilds approaching, I wanted to talk more about the game and get more into it. I wanted to ride the hype train along with everybody else.
I had no idea just how big the world is.
I tried the beta and I have to admit, I am definitely into this game. I'm not a familiar Monster Hunter player, but I do love the Monster Hunter combat. I love the overall feel of the play style in the game. You know, it's just a fun game all around. With upcoming Monster Hunter means more upcoming monsters. And, you know, today, I wanted to touch upon the Arkveld, Monster Hunter's newest monster. The Arkveld is a very powerful monster and not challenged by many. However, there is one who may say something different. And who better to challenge him than none other than King of the Monsters himself, Godzilla. In this video, I will be comparing the Arkveld and Godzilla through various skills and attributes they both have. And between those skills and attributes, we will determine a winner. So get ready for the Clash of the Titans. So I will be determining the winner of this battle through 6 categories: speed, size, strength, endurance, power, and armor. And a disclaimer, Monster Hunter Wilds is new, so not much is known about the Arkveld, so I'll be going off of what we have from the beta. Now I'll be doing my best to compile the most accurate data possible, so just bear with me. Now let's go ahead and get started, and let's break down the first category of speed. So using math here, I've been able to time how quick the Arkveld is. It can turn around and fling its whole tail and body backwards in 3 seconds. And then it can turn around and run across the entire plane in 5 seconds. It's a very fast monster, very quick. And this next one, the Arkveld flees in terror, and it can clear the whole map in approximately 8 seconds. Subsequently, it takes Godzilla a total of 8 seconds to meet King Ghidorah. In the next clip, we see Godzilla and Kong charging at Shimu, I think is what his name was, in Scar King. Godzilla takes about, I'd say, 12 seconds to clear a very large area, even with the slow motion included. It's worth noting that the Arkveld crossed a much longer distance within 8 seconds compared to Godzilla's 8 seconds that he met with Ghidorah. It looks like Arkveld wins this round. Now we move on to the size category. If you look in the video, the Arkveld looks to be approximately 5 hunters tall, and if we are counting the hunter to be 6 feet, that would mean the Arkveld is approximately 30 feet tall. However, length is a little bit of a different story. If you compare through the metric of a 6 foot tall hunter from head to tail of the Arkveld, I'm going to say probably about anywhere from 10 to 13 hunters. So 6 times 10 is 60 feet, so anywhere from 60 to 78 feet long. So we're going to say about 70 feet long and 30 feet tall in height. Now on to Godzilla. So I used this skyscraper in Hong Kong as reference. This is a 40-story building, and a 40-story building is roughly 394 feet tall, which means that Godzilla is an astounding almost 400 feet tall. Now this next part is conjecture. I do not know for sure, but I believe this aircraft carrier in Godzilla vs. Kong to be 1,000 feet long. Godzilla's tail drapes off the edge of it, and he seems to be wide-stepped out, and he seems to take up roughly 60% of it. I think if you lay him down, he is a good 570 feet to 600 feet long in length. They call Godzilla King of the Monsters for a reason. My goodness. This leaves no doubt the King easily takes this round. Moving on to the next category of strength, we will observe the Arkveld. Here he is trying to wildly try and punch the hunter. All he's doing, it seems like, is to be staggering his hands, and he seems to be putting cracks in the earth. Very strong. All he's doing is putting pressure, putting his weight down. You know, of course, he does have a lot of weight. I would also like to note that in this clip, he does cause what seems to be an earthquake. A small earthquake, I would say roughly 4.2 on the magnitude scale. Here it is right here. For reference, to cause a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, it would take 100 tons of TNT for reference. Moving on to Godzilla, we see him tail whip the male Muto. Doing some quick math here, the Empire State Building weighs approximately 365,000 tons. Measuring that other building compared to Godzilla, I'd say it's about double his size in that movie. So let's go ahead and say 204,040 tons. About 56% of the Empire State Building's weight. Crazy. Godzilla, using just his tail, smashed a 15,000-ton Muto into a 204,040-ton building. Using the next reference clip, Godzilla smacks Kong, and he smacks him so hard he knocks him over. Just with one arm is so powerful. So the ape in the movie is 100 and I believe 50-ish tons, and Godzilla just knocks him completely over with just a smack. So Godzilla, with just one arm, can create enough force to smash with 150 tons, whereas the Arkveld has enough force, using most of his strength, I feel like, to create 100 tons of force. It's clear who the winner of this round is. Alright, we are officially entering halftime. As it stands, the score is Arkveld 1, Godzilla 2. Who will come out on top in the second half of this monster showdown? So for the second half, we'll be switching things up. And we'll start with Godzilla clips and then go to Arkveld clips. So in this Godzilla fight scene, I'm going to talk through the whole way through it. You'll see that Godzilla is still very vicious, very tenacious, talking about his endurance. But notice that he expels a lot of energy towards shooting his atomic breath. This consistently seems to go on for pretty much the whole fight. You know, Godzilla keeps trying to shoot Kong with his atomic breath, expending a ton of energy. Kong keeps finding ways to stop it. But Godzilla's able to keep this up for a good, solid, I feel like, 3 minutes. The energy Godzilla has stored inside his body is just insane. How he can keep attacking Kong and keep going forward and being persevering and keep shooting the atomic breath over and over and over again. It's almost too much for Kong. Kong's wits and cleverness is the only thing that saves him here. Godzilla's definitely got him beat on endurance, I would say here. But this is about Godzilla versus the Arkveld, not Godzilla versus Kong. We have a whole movie for that after all. But you know, Godzilla just keeps finding ways to endure and just keeps coming at Kong, keeps shooting. There he goes, shooting him again. You know, it's a lot of energy he expels. Eventually, once Kong finally hits him with the axe, he's able to stop attacking for a little bit. And then, it's not pictured here, but there was a time skip between this fight and the next fight. Godzilla had to recover. Kong had been waiting and restoring energy, the same as Godzilla. You know, and it's hard to predict the exact amount of time that passed during this fight scene. You know, the movie says 3 minutes, but, you know, in the movie, during the plot line, it could be 30 minutes, you know, for all we know. All I know is that Godzilla can shoot a ton of atomic breath for a long period of time before getting exhausted and having to recuperate. Now let's go ahead and examine the Arkveld. So to start off the Arkveld again, we once again see it running through the plains that I showed earlier. It's able to do this after fighting And then the hunters catch up to the monster, and then it's back to more fighting. You know, it just cleared that huge distance. It doesn't matter to it. It's coming right for them. It even gets stuck in the hunter trap. It's still struggling. And then as soon as it gets out, it's ready to fight again, like nothing even happened. And it starts doing its lightning red energy attacks. You know, it keeps expending a bunch of energy, just like Godzilla does. And there it goes again. It shows no signs of slowing down. You know, it yet again, another burst of energy. You know, it's the same concept with Godzilla. He just seems to be quicker, and he can do it for longer. The fight lasts for 15 minutes. So, you know, that Godzilla fight lasts 8 minutes. You know, that I showed you before, but the first fight lasts 3 minutes. They cut it off. Godzilla has to take a break, and he's had to rest from recuperation in a fight from a couple times in the series. Here we see the Arkveld running away again. You know, they both have the same amount of energy stored, but I think the Arkveld is just built different with how fast it can go, how consistently it just seems to be attacking, and it just seems to let off that red fire burst, red lightning burst, I mean. Also so often, almost as much as Godzilla with his atomic breath. Here it is again, as we can see the hunter's attacking it on its head, and it's getting ready for another lightning attack, it seems like. But you know, the hunter takes advantage of it. It does get tired right here, but that, you know, that's a normal sign when you're being beat up in the head, I suppose. It's really close here. Both monsters can seem to expend a lot of energy before getting tired. However, considering that the Arkveld does have the speed advantage on Godzilla, and he can consume more energy by being quicker, and exporting as much energy as Godzilla, I gotta say, I do give the endurance test to the Arkveld. Moving on to the power segment, we see Godzilla wrestling with the female Muto, and he just shoots his atomic breath into her body, melting her head clean off. Keep in mind, the female Muto is 60,000 tons, and he melts her head completely off. This is a very cool scene, by the way. In the next scene, we see Godzilla emerge from the ocean. And before this scene, he consumed a nuclear bomb, I believe. And in this scene, he dispels all that nuclear energy. And for reference, a nuclear bomb, the core of its heat can be up to millions of degrees. Millions! Let's just say you don't want to be burned by Godzilla's atomic breath. Oh man, just watch this scene. This is my favorite scene from King of the Monsters. Glorious. He just pulls up, looks at them, and then whoosh, lightning. Oh god, it's glorious. In the next clip of the Arkveld, excuse my audio, I just thought this was really cool. We see it fighting, forgive me, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, an unknown monster, about the same size as it, and it powers up and uses its red lightning attack we've observed later in the video. It seems to just stun the monster, and then it gets up, it flies away, it retreats. You know, it's scared of the attack, but it just stuns it, you know? It doesn't completely melt it or anything like that. It just seems to temporarily stun it. So let's go ahead and go on to another clip. So unfortunately, I was unable to obtain any clips where the Arkveld uses its red lightning attack in that super ground pound it does. But anyways, it does kill a human being in one hit. I know it's technically faint in Monster Hunter terms, but we'll just call it kill a human being. And then here we also see it generates enough lightning to pounce on a animal that's about probably a 15% of its size. So it's got some strong power. It can kill decently sized animals. Now, can it kill Godzilla? That's the question. I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to debate this. The Arkveld can generate a lot of power. Godzilla can also generate a lot of power, but Godzilla can generate more because he's got more in his body to generate. So this next round goes to Godzilla. Alright, here we go. We are heading into the final stretch. Godzilla has a narrow edge over the Arkveld now with 3 points versus the Arkveld's 2. How will the final round shape up? Can the Arkveld tie it up and send it into overtime? Or will Godzilla come out on top? Let's get into the final category of armor. Going to Godzilla, I've analyzed a lot of his footage. And from what I can tell, not very many things can pierce his skin. Here we can see Kong's axe pierce his leg, but that axe's blade is a spine from Godzilla's back. And, you know, this is a powerful spine made of nuclear material. You know, if the logic is only nuclear embedded weapons can pierce Godzilla's skin, you know, I don't know how the Arkveld can pierce its skin. What's important to note next is that Kong is using a steel glove fit for his arm. Keep in mind he's a 158-ton ape, I think, somewhere around there. And I counted, he has to punch Godzilla with it 10 times to knock him out. Godzilla's armor on his head is very resilient. It's very hard to get a hit hard enough to knock the lizard unconscious. Wow. Moving on to Arkveld, we see the player hitting it in the head several times. Its head seems to be its weak point despite looking like it has heavy armor. And it does stagger it after I'd say about 3 or 4 hits. You know, it's a hammer, it's a big hammer, and it will do a lot of damage. You know, but I feel like to a monster of this caliber, it's a little out of proportion. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. In the next clip, it's worth noting that one of the players appears to be using, I believe, a heavy bow gun on the Arkveld. On its arms, where the armor is, those chains on its, that counts as its arms/wings. He does seem to be tanking those hits very well. He does seem to have very protective armor on his wings and tail in particular. However, his head is a weak spot. And most things, head is a critical point. So, you know, I think, you know, without further ado, it's time to give the winner of this category the crown. And it appears that the mighty Arkveld has fallen to the king of the monsters. Godzilla takes the armor category. And the winner is... who else could it be other than the king of the monsters? So Godzilla wins by a final score of 4-2. Of course, who else could it have been? He's the king of the monsters, but I thought it'd be a fun video to do. Thank you all so much that tuned in to watch the video. At the time of me finishing recording this, Monster Hunter Wilds has launched. For those of you that play the game, I am super excited. Let's get down to hunting those monsters, but don't forget who the true king of the monsters is. Special shout out goes to the Huntsman on TikTok for providing Arkveld clips. Also, be sure to join the Discord that he runs. It is a Monster Hunter Guild Discord chat. I'll be sure to leave that in the description. Be sure to subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments what monster matchup you want to see next, and I will try to do a video on it. Thank you all so much, and until next time, farewell.